First of all, I'd like to thank us all and welcome you for your presence here today. Last year, Éirígí as a party took a very conscious decision to organise a conference like this, which we intend to hold on a yearly basis to coincide with our annual commemoration of James Connolly. When we look at those who have inspired us individually and collectively as a movement, we find that they all have certain things in common. And it matters little to us if those who inspired us were part of our own struggle in Ireland, or whether they were part of other struggles in Europe, in Africa or Latin America. The people who have inspired us as socialists and Republicans have a number of things in common. They all had an unquenchable desire for justice and freedom. They all had a willingness to step forward and be in the forefront of struggle, no matter where it was, no matter what dangers it put them in. And they all had shared a deep love and appreciation of humanity and of mankind. They also shared another common feature from which we all must learn. We must learn from their ability to analyse, their ability and willingness to identify the guilty in society, no matter how powerful or great they are. And we must also learn from their ability to propagandise, using every method available to us. But above all else, we must learn that these people offered practical solutions. Solutions that made sense to the working man, to the peasant, to the tenant, to the landless labourers, the oppressed and to the exploited. And because they offered solutions which made sense, they provided hope, inspiration and leadership, and built their movements upon that solid basis. We must therefore learn that it's not enough to analyse and it's not enough to criticise. We too must provide solutions and offer hope and inspiration to others. The teachings of James Connolly are as relevant today as when he was alive. His socialism is ageless, and we as socialists and republicans must strive to ensure that his legacy is kept alive in Ireland today and in the future. Connolly would never have accepted the dictum from the bourgeoisie that labour must wait. Irish labour has been waiting in vain for too long. The two states in this island, which were created through partition, were and still remain hostile to the interests of Irish workers, and they have acted against the struggles of Irish workers time and time again. The total unemployed across the 32 counties is heading towards 600,000. Many others in employment are hanging on to their jobs by their very fingertips. Thousands of our young people are again being forced abroad as economic migrants. It goes without saying what the position of Connolly would have been in present-day trade union leaders who feel their members day and daily in this country at a time when capitalism is in crisis, and when the working class, the unemployed, the ill, the elderly and the young are under attack across the whole island. It also goes without saying what the position of Connolly would have been to those political parties who claim to espouse working class and republican teachings, but who endorse partition and who spend their time knocking on the doors of the right-wing establishment parties seeking coalition government. He knew only too well that partition would lead to a carnival of reaction, and that carnival of reaction has been in full flow in this country for the last number of years. In view of the events in Ireland and elsewhere, the economic cost by the greed of bankers, private landlords and property speculators, culminating in the intervention by the EU and IMF in the 26 counties, the £4 billion of cuts due to be implemented by the incoming Storming coalition. It's clear that the message of Connolly remains as true today as it was over a century ago, when he concluded his pamphlet Labour, Nationality and Religion in the simplest and most straightforward of terms. In his words, the day has passed for patching up the capitalist system that must go. Ireland remains divided by imperialism. The livelihoods of the vast majority of Irish people, which are controlled by undemocratic capitalist forces, which stretch from this island to London, to Washington and Brussels, are absolutely no different to those same undemocratic controlling forces which Connolly and others organised and struggled against. The political classes of this country, north and south, have shown a subservience to the economic forces which control our destinies. The extent of that subservience can clearly be seen in the manner of their meekness to the dictates of the EU and IMF. It can be seen in the giveaway of our natural resources, the profits from which are destined to line the pockets of Shell, BP and Statoil, not to forget the pockets of our own modern-day William Martin Murphy, Tony O'Reilly. Instead, those resources could and should be ours for the benefit of all the people of this island. The extent of that subservience by the political class can be seen in the fun and welcome being given to the visit by the honorary head of the British Armed Forces, while Britain maintains its grip on the 6 counties and engages in wars elsewhere in the world. That subservience can be seen in our daily collaboration with Britain and in the lack of active opposition to repressive and draconian British laws are Britain's deployments of its troops in multi throughout the 6 counties. Those self-serving and subservient political classes are the same ones that have, to quote James Connolly, unceasingly strove to divert the public mind upon the lines of constitutional agitation for such reforms as might remove irritating and unnecessary officialism while leaving untouched the basis of national and economic subjection. And it's worth pointing out that over the next 5 years, as the centenary of the Easter Rising draws near, those who have failed the Irish people, those who have betrayed the vision of 1916, will be embarking upon an unprecedented revisionist campaign aimed at trying to persuade the public mind that the objectives of 1916 have somehow been secured through the partition of our country and the anti-working policies of both those states. We must be prepared to confront and challenge that propaganda campaign. We must again assert, like James Connolly, that the Irish question is a social question. The whole age-long fight of the Irish people against their oppressors resolves itself in the final analysis into a fight for the mastery of the means of life, the sources of production in Ireland. Throughout the course of this morning and today, we will have discussions on the theft of our natural resources, on how we can build a fight back against the EU and IMF cuts, on resistance to the British royal visit, and the modern day nature of imperialism. And of course, we'll also have a discussion on the great man himself, James Connolly. Later this afternoon, we'll have a commemoration ceremony to Connolly at Arbor Hill. I hope that you find these discussions interesting, and will encourage you all to actively participate and contribute your views. A couple of housekeeping points. The toilets are along the corridor to the right. There's also a smoking area along that same corridor, so you can see who's going the whole way down to the front door to let the branch get your photographs. And if everybody could keep their phones on silent throughout the day. Finally, I would of course like to thank the organising committee who put this event together. I'd like to thank those speakers who have given their time to be with us today, and again to thank yourselves for your attendance. So, bring you salt glass and very much.